Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high must leave the court immediately.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Today's rule is rule number 26. It takes a little bit of delusion to dream.
Hi, Amy. I'm Audrey. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Jen. Very nice to meet you.
Welcome to Rule 42, and we can't wait to hear about your story. I would like to start off by saying I heard you were a member of a very prestigious group.
Mensa?
You are, yeah.
Oh, it's so nice to see you, you guys. Thank you for having me. And yeah, Mensa, it just means you're good at puzzles. It's super douchey, and actually, I'm a member of one better than that called the Triple Nines, which is even which is 0.001 of high IQ. Now, you guys probably know IQ is a really biased measurement that favors certain races and classes because of things like vocabulary, which are cultural more than actual. That said, Mensa means you have top 2% of IQ, for whatever that's worth, as measured by the standard bell curve of distribution on an accepted IQ test. And they accept lots and lots of different ones. I got in based on my graduate record exam scores. I am good at taking tests. My dad's a professor. My mom was gonna be one before she dropped out of the career world because she got knocked up by my dad. But I come from a nerdy academic family, so that part of life is very easy for me. It's how my brain works. But on the other hand, I cannot plan an outfit. I have the unique ability of making very expensive clothes still look bad. Like, so fashion, makeup, art, zero ability. The opposite
you did
of
a great job today, because I am loving that you're the makeup. I did not do that. Well, look, credit is given where credit is due. So they did an amazing job. And that is why we all specialize in certain areas. We all have our area that we're stronger in. We all have our area that I have no clue what I'm doing. It's definitely still something to be really proud of. I actually, a lot of members that I know are really funny.
Yeah. Are you in Mensa?
I am not.
Okay.
I just happen to know a lot of people.
Yeah, no, they have these regional gatherings and they're very pedantic. The magazine's funny. They argue over ridiculous things. But yeah, I really like brilliant people. My father's kind of a savant. He speaks many languages. He's written books. I like numbers and I think that way. And I do like being this way, although it annoys other people, but I don't care.
That's not what we're here for. We're not here to make everybody else happy.
The world needs all sorts of us. Like, that's why there's over 8 billion. And
what makes it interesting?
Yeah, there's kind of these other kinds of brilliance. Like, I've met athletes who are super kinesthetic, and yeah, are they good at math like me? No, but they're very aware of their body. That's definitely some kind of intelligence. As are people skills.
Numbers do not work in my brain.
That's cool, right? It's not for everybody. I'm not great at spoken English. I'm better at writing. I'm trying to get better at speaking. I like people a lot, but I'm often not very good with people skills. Like, when I don't like somebody, it's very difficult for me to hide it.
Come with subtext?
Yeah.
There are subtitles written across your face.
Ooh, and
I have that problem too.
Well, and maybe this is terrible to say, but maybe because I live in a big city, I have the opportunity to make new friends every single day. It's not difficult for me. You just go outside or go to yoga or the dog park, and there's nice people everywhere. So if I don't like somebody, I'm pretty okay with writing them off forever. I don't even think about it. Like, they don't exist to me. And that can be I can be perceived as a little cold or like on the spectrum that way. But my take on it is that, I'm 47 years old. Life is short. I'm not going to waste 1 second on something that doesn't serve me. Also, if I don't like somebody else, they deserve somebody who does, right? Because it doesn't mean I'm not the SO.
We for a while of the same type of people. That's why we're all different.
Usually pretty mutual.
Opinions, different everything. My daughters, they classify one group and another group that might not agree with them. That doesn't mean that, there's something wrong with either group. They just they're into different things. They're different people. So they stay within their circle and their community and what helps build them into better people. Forget about everybody else. That's their problem.
100%. What I think I'd like to see less of is people like bully each other either on or offline for their differences. Of course, the trope of the jocks and the nerds has always been a thing, but now it seems like mutual hate slung in every different direction from and toward anybody. I suppose it's democratized. That's good, but
they're trying. There are a lot of stereotypes and a lot of things that I've actually had an issue with this weekend in terms of when do you intervene and when do you kind of like stay back and what, whether or not you're being somebody that's perpetuating an idea. So I have athletes that are children, and they happen to be females, and they happen to have very different aesthetics. One is very cosplay, androgynous, likes to be mistaken for a boy, can do very girly. She just likes to play with her look, but tends to go more on the lazy, I don't want to do my hair or anything else, so I'm putting a sweater, a hoodie, and keeping this on, and that's pretty much it. And then the other one's very, very, very girly. And when you have that in an athletic environment and one gets treated one way and the other one gets treated the other, and you know what it's about, it's kind of like, what do I do here?
Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, sex is, of course, biological, and there's a spectrum there too. There's, XXY, XYY. There's a whole spectrum of actual sex, primary and secondary sex characteristics. Mother Nature loves diversity. It's humans. We're really stupid, and we can only think about male and female. There's lots of creatures that are not entirely male or female. Yes. But then upon that, gender, which is not a synonym for sex, people apparently can't speak English, but stuff like girls wear makeup. Well, that's just a rule we made up. It doesn't have to be that way. Or heels, or you talk about girly. None of that is natural. We made that stuff up. And so it's cool. I enjoy, got my makeup done today. That's fun. But they can do whatever they want, and it can change. And
the one that's more on the androgynous side, her makeup ability is insane. She can play, and she can make someone completely transform. She just chooses to do it when she's ready to do it. And that doesn't fall in line with everything out there all of the time. And it can detrimentally impact you, because when you choose to be in an environment where that expectation is higher to be not androgynous, but to be more feminine, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because you know what environment that you're in, and you're not going to change it all on your own. And so you kind of have to make a choice there.
Which is why people conform. They conform because it's simply an easier survival thing.
Correct. And that's what I mean. At what point are you part of creating the problem, perpetuating it? And at what point do you stand up and say but then you're complicating things, because then your child isn't just going through this in terms of trying to figure out where they fit, but they're also going through whatever impact comes from the confrontation of it. So it's just very, very, it's a lot.
Parents want a more difficult life. When I got outed for some of my lifestyle choices, my father said, I don't have a moral problem with the way you live. I just worry that life is going to be tougher for you. And indeed, in some ways it has. In some ways it's been awesome. But yeah, I mean, you're right. We cannot change the world alone. However, it has gradually become infinitely kinder and less violent than it was, 10,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. So it does change. Usually slower than one generation. But humans are essentially very stupid, and they like that which is predictable and sort of binary and easy to categorize. I find that sort of really dumb, because Mother Nature is a degenerate gambler rolling dice, and she loves diversity. In fact, diversity is necessary to create the successes that survive. So that idea that humans like to pigeonhole, I just did a broadcast last week where a woman at the end apologized for being rude. She was quite rude when we were scheduling it. And she at the end said, I didn't mean to be so rude. I've just never met anybody in your world. And this woman was Middle Eastern. And I said to her, well, now you know how people feel when they're Islamophobes, because that's how they feel about you. And I don't think that's good either. I'm not saying that's
no, but it provides a different perspective on something.
an androgynous person. I mean, truly, all that stuff's a cloak. Like I have a porn star body and I fly planes and shoot guns, which are sort of ascribed to the masculine side. Well, for no reason. They don't need to be masculine, but there was something.
That's what's given. Yeah, because originally pilots could only be male.
We're men,
Females
and
came into that industry.
Before fly-by-wire, you kind of needed to be physically stronger than most women were. So that was fair a long time ago. It's no longer true. Everything's hydraulics and stuff. You don't need to be strong.
Exactly.
You did. Flying the B-52, if you lost outboard number one, the torque on the plane, a woman probably couldn't hang on to that. But now it's different, right? So androgyny, I mean, I assume your child's friends just want to understand, who is this person I know? And people,
they just don't see her.
Sorry?
They don't see her.
That sucks.
Yeah. So she has her core, and those are the people that see her, and they love her, and they accept her, and they don't care if she doesn't fall into that category that's kind of mainstream. They don't care. And that's what I tell her, that it's so important to have quality over quantity, because there's so many people out there, and you're going to meet so many people that either have some type of negative comment to make or commentary and just don't understand you or anything beyond their scope of their world. And that's not your problem to fix. All you need to do is surround yourself by the people that support you and will help you grow in a direction that makes you a good person. Because ultimately, that's all I want. I just want good people.
Yeah. Most of us, you can't have a huge inner circle. And also, all those people who are like talking shit, they got their own dirty secrets too. All of them. Every single person does.
Definitely.
And it's usually very fear-based. They're worried about their own stuff getting... and people are always weird about stuff they don't understand. And I think she's brave. I think it's cool.
I tell her that all the time. That she's so much braver than I ever was.
Well, conforming is safer and easier and maybe smarter, right? If you didn't conform to the tribe, you got pariahed, which was sure death back in the day. Yeah, but if you look at human history, most of it was not improved or changed by the conformers. It was the ones who stuck their neck out. There's an old Russian saying, the tallest blade of grass gets cut first. So there is some truth to the fact that if you stick your neck out, it's risky, like you were saying, but it's also vital, it's brave, and it's important, and it'll make her life more interesting. It
definitely has.
It requires a bit of strength, but in this day and age, look, everyone hates everybody. You get bullied no matter who you are. They're going to hate what you do anyway, so you might as well make yourself happy as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Yes.
Well, that's what I always tell my kids. I feel like you don't have to like everyone, but just be nice. Or if you don't have anything nice to say, keep your mouth shut. Like, you don't need to say anything. It's not that hard. Like, you know?
Yeah. And you're not going to change
it. It's not that hard, but there's definitely a problem with keeping their traps shut.
Yeah, like if you can't say anything nice, just don't say it.
Oh, and the world, the focus is like a hamster on cocaine. People will focus on you for a minute, and then it's the next shiny thing. I did a large broadcast where I got trolled by 4.5 million people for about 3 days, and you look at the comments and you're like, it's annoying, but then they move on, and my mother used to tell me, you'll stop worrying about what people think of you when you realize they don't. They're thinking about themselves, and the degree to which they're mostly self-concerned. They have their own problems, their own fears, their own shames, and the degree to which even my most ardent, for instance, I have some ardent conservative transphobic friends. When they meet a drag queen, they can't even be rude because suddenly it's a flesh and blood human in front of them, and they realize it's not a meme, it's not a internet article made to rage bait you. It's a human being who wants the same things you want. They want to love somebody and survive, and it's pretty hard to be awful in person. Luckily, that's pretty rare to be like straight up evil in person.
I mean, a lot of them are getting a little braver. Given this. They grew up, especially once COVID came and this became the ultimate form of communication. Like you were just FaceTiming people and grouping like this, and you're still behind a screen and you didn't get that immediate consequence for what you were saying, or somebody might hang up on you, but you have the other ones laughing, it perpetuated this idea of, oh yeah, like we can get away with this. So
Really?
nowadays these kids have mouths that you're like, oh, you can't say that.
No,
Yeah. I mean, the ones doing like rage bait podcasts, they're going to go broke, be unable to get jobs, they will be remembered as the ones who sold hate. They will lose in the end. It won't take that long. Yeah, maybe you don't get your ass beat now like you used to when you talk shit, but they will suffer badly for being short term.
They don't, because of that immediate gratification.
Yeah, I mean, they will learn. I mean, the wonderful thing about the young is they're very overconfident and they're very stupid, and those are great traits. They make you do cool things, but yeah, all the rage bait podcasts I know, their hosts are already going broke and suffering and having to move out of the Miami penthouse or coastal California play. It was a 5-year run they got tops, and now the rest of their life is trash because this stuff is up there forever. So It was definitely not worth it. It turns out, shocker, being an asshole is a bad strategy long term. Who'd have thunk it?
Who would have thought?
So they may think this is new, but the technology is new, but nothing is ever new. The people who survive are the people who cooperate and are generally elegant and well-mannered. You can get nowhere in life without that. And that has always been true. The few sort of, warlord, like a Genghis Khan or a Hitler or somebody, they always have a short run, and then they always get like assassinated by their second in command because the world's had enough of them. So you can live that way, but it's a short run and you will get yours. It's a choice. But we are the descendants of people who essentially largely cooperated because we have to survive. And that includes mostly having decent manners. Like you said, if you don't like somebody, get them out of your life, but let them live, because and that's never changed. These kids, I sound so old, but these kids will find that to be as true as ever.
We say that we feel so old now because it's just like a different world. And then we're trying to communicate with our kids, but understanding and realizing that they're dealing with a totally different reality than we did at their age. And they have so many more, like, it's just, it's a lot.
No, is it really different? I mean, the tools may be different. Like, they have
I feel like they have so much more at their
the
fingertips.
access is so in their face.
I mean,
constantly.
the phone or the laptop, they have the whole world.
We had landlines, so you always kind of thought, like, is someone on the other phone?
Yeah.
Is someone standing around the corner listening to my conversation?
Manhattan. It's a lot of post-college kids, early 20s. It's Manhattan. Now, these are the most privileged kids. They went to the best schools. They got rich parents. They have great jobs. It's no different here. They're starting out. They have to be polite. They have to work hard. Yeah, some days are from Zoom and some days are in the office, but the rules are still the same as they were for us. I mean, but perhaps those are the only people I know in their early 20s are these kids.
Mine range from 2 to 18, so I'm in a whole world of.
My niece and nephew are in college, but they're great. They're not even, they don't care that much about, I mean, they're online, of course, but they're in college in San Francisco, and they're largely nice kids, or at least when they're around us, they are. Who knows who they are in the dark when we're not there? Maybe.
Yeah. Can I jump in? Because this comes up a lot, and I think kids also, yes, everything you guys said, but they're also better in a lot of ways. They're more understanding, more accepting, and a lot kinder.
They're braver.
But
they're
way braver. But they're I think people are more accepting because of what they're exposed to, what they've seen, who they get to. I never saw a drag queen until I went to college, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a drag queen, and we're down in the Lower East Side, and this is a pretty cool show. I was like, this is cool. Never would have thought of it. Now it's my 9-year-old knows what a drag queen is. He's like, oh yeah, they're drag queens. So I think kids have the exposure also helps. But I wanted to go back to one thing, because everyone who listens to this show knows how much I love flying. So can you talk about becoming a pilot? Because I think that's incredibly fascinating.
Sure. You fly as well?
No, he's petrified.
Oh yeah, he.
Oh right, I'm sorry. I listened to one. I listened to all about, like, you don't like it. You're being facetious. Why don't you like it? It's amazing. The view, it's a miracle. We've only had this for 120 years. It's a freaking miracle.
I agree to everything you said. I love the idea. I love traveling. I had a bad flight from Ireland, and ever since then, I've been kind of like, my brain broke with flying. So
You say bad, turbulence.
Bad. Emergency landing in Maine, like that type of thing. So, but it wasn't an emergency. We ran out of gas. That was the only emergency.
Well, that's bad judgment on their part to like, I mean, they often carry minimum gas for weight and balance, and then they got to I've had it happen a couple times too, the heavy headwind, and they miscalculated, but that's terrible of them. So the sky is not nothing. It's a fluid. It's just a very thin one. So essentially a plane is a shark. It's swimming, which is why it banks. It doesn't turn. The air is not nothing. So, you fly because you are vacuumed up by the air. The physics is that, the top of the wing is curved, the bottom is flat. Much like, you ever go river rafting? When the river narrows, the water speeds up, right?
Yeah.
So pressure and velocity are inversely correlated. That's physics. If pressure goes up, velocity goes down. If pressure goes down, velocity goes up. That's how the universe works. And so the curved top of the plane, the air that as you're going forward, you're flying in your plane, you slicing through the air, that air that goes over the curved top of the wing speeds up. It's got a curved distance, and the air on the bottom stays the same speed because it's flat. So speed goes, it has to go further. Pressure goes down on top of the wing because velocity went up. Pressure stays the same. So basically on top of the wing, you've got low pressure. On the bottom of the wing, you got high pressure. The reason you fly is you are vacuumed up into the heavens. You are pulled up by God because you have lower pressure on the wings. So we say,
I'm not afraid.
I know. He's like, wait, what? Now I'm in a vacuum?
No, I'm actually not.
We're pulled up by the heavens. We call our planes homesick angels. They're just going where they want, because if you get them going fast enough, the heavens will pull them up into this fluid, like a swimming pool up there. And turbulence is just temperature differences, hot and cold, like a wave in the ocean. When you swim in the ocean, if you go up a wave, a down is coming, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in the sky. It's just temperature differences. It's a wave.
That's interesting. I would have never thought of it like that.
No, at all.
I trained in the desert, so it was knuckleball express every afternoon. As the earth heats up, the temperature differences off the earth make for unbelievable turbulence. I would hit the ceiling when I was training in Arizona. So I first barfed for like 6 weeks, and then I got used to it. Turbulence.
Did you get concussions?
I know we have seatbelt. It's not too bad. It's a little plane, but everybody starts in tiny planes first. But so it's exactly like a boat, and you get your sea legs. It's a boat. It's a wave. You're in a boat in the sky, and it's a wave. And you're not going to fall out of the sky because you have your engines, right? And if you have your engines, you can go fast enough, creating that vacuum, creating you sucking. You're not going to fall out of the sky just because of a wave, any more than a wave would make you fall to the bottom of the ocean, right? Same thing. So it doesn't feel good on your stomach, the roller coaster feeling. That's G-forces that our bodies don't like because we are ground-dwelling creatures, and it's unnatural for us to be up there. But think about it. If you wanted to go from New York to California, that was a once-in-your-lifetime journey, and like half your family died, and then you never went back. And now you can be anywhere in the world in a day.
I know. It's crazy.
And you going in this machine that goes across the sky at unimaginable temperatures and speeds, and then it inches up to the gate like a swan, and you get off, and there you are in Dubai. And we didn't have this.
So we're clear. Tommy's totally freaking out right now.
I am, and I'm not.
Where are they trying to take me?
He's like, why? No, I'm not getting on one.
It's in the blood. My mom's dad was a pilot. He was Air Force, and then worked in another industry after he got out of but he, so I think it was in my blood. The first time I did it, I was like, and he had this like shit box plane that would like stop in the air, and he'd crank it over, and everybody else got afraid, and not me. If you know about my life, there's things I've done where I should have been afraid and was not. So I think there's a running theme there where I lack the fear gene, much to my
that is such a benefit though, because watching my girls and watching my boys, because let's just say in tumbling, for instance, the boys have zero fear. They're not afraid that they're going to break their neck or that they're going to get hurt, or they will get hurt, and then they'll just do it again.
Yeah.
My girls have been more like, that might kill me. I don't know. Maybe I'll try, but I'm not really going to give it my all. And they'll try and they'll work and they get there. But the boys are just like, what? I'm going to flip off of this sofa 5 times. And if it doesn't happen and it just happens twice, I'll just keep doing it till I fit the 5 times in there. And they're much younger. So that lack of fear is it's amazing to be able to function without that paralyzing kind of.
Well, it's a liability at times, but sure. So I do have a little bit high testosterone for a woman, which is probably why I also had a fairly high sex drive. That is.
Did you get that tested?
Yeah, I have. And as I age, I keep it tested to manage what's, the menopause that's coming in about 8 to 10 years. So yes, I do. I was a pretty good runner. I've always built muscle easily. So it is true that high testosterone women do like to fuck and maybe are a little bit masculine in our behaviors. That said, in aviation, we train heavily. The FARs, we say, the Federal Aviation Regulations, call them the FARs. Those are the laws. We say the FARs are written in blood because every law is written because somebody died. And so we take it very seriously. We are very safe from pre-flighting to flight plans to checking out, kicking the tires and all the stuff we do. You don't just do it willy-nilly. And that's, they say there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old, bold pilots. So, if you fly stupid, you die. And nobody would. But it did take brave people to figure this out, right? First hot air balloons in France and Wright brothers and, onto the test pilots now that are flying at Mach 10 around in stuff the military does. So it does take a little bit of delusion to dream, but as does raising a children. I never did that. I never did what you do because that to me seems far scarier. You are responsible for human lives. I am not.
That's an emotional roller coaster.
That is. Some days are great, and then other days you're like, why did I do this to myself over and over again?
I did it.
It's like watching your
6
heart
times
outside your body.
And then sometimes it's really scary. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. And you got to get them to like functional survival. Like, I think that's way scarier than flying a plane.
I don't know. But you also touched on something when we first started discussing you becoming a pilot. And it was like having a high sex drive. And obviously you don't have a problem saying that. So you had to have come to that realization and that like moment of embracing that at some point in your life. When was that?
Well, I mean, I had sex.
Like, have you ever been concerned about like being like, hey, I have a high sex drive?
Well, I wouldn't say it like in church with my grandmother's past. I wouldn't have done, although my one grandma felt the need. She lived to be 104. And she told me after 42, I never had another man. I'm like, all right, grandma, thanks.
I know.
So no, we are not a sex phobic family. I was raised with no shame around it. My family, was do it safely. Don't catch a disease. Don't, get pregnant if you don't want to. But I don't feel two things. I don't feel shame if I want to. I've had sex when I've been in love, and that's spiritually transcendent. It's the best. It's the most beautiful. Of course, we all know that it's better. But I've also had sports sex, and that was fine too, if that was what was going on. And consensual, of course. Don't lie to people. Don't hurt them. All that. I also don't think it's a bargaining chip. That I should dole out carefully to control people. And I do have a lot of girlfriends who think it's their only power, and they should be very careful and give it away. And a lot of men will tell women if they did have sex, they're less valuable. I just don't think my value to the world is my sexuality. I reject that notion. I don't think sluts have less value than saintly, pious virgins. We all like somebody loyal if we're in love with them. We don't want to be abandoned, and we're kind of jealous creatures. That exists. I've been in love and not wanted them to fuck other people. Sure. I've been in love and been in open relationships if that was what was going on. But I generally am pretty sex positive. Maybe that'll change someday, but I find it pretty ridiculous that we're all kvetching over something that everyone does and is natural, and attaching all this garbage to it seems very weird to me. So I don't. But I had sex the first time the day after I turned 18, and I was like, this is for me. So I'm going to do this a bunch. And, I dated that guy for 7 years, and that was wonderful. And then I slept around a bunch for a few years, and that was great too. Sex is both a very big deal sometimes and sometimes just not. And both things are okay. If it can be this beautiful, beautiful, transcendent, spiritual thing, you can feel sexually possessive sometimes where you want them only with you. There are millions, probably billions, what do I know, people who are in open relationships and they are not sexually possessive of each other. I know neighbors and friends who that's what they do. Cool, if it works for both of them. Life is not a level playing field. I've met veterans and differently abled people who would have no access to no sex partners without sort of sex workers and arrangements that are more professional. And that's okay too. What are they supposed to do? Be alone and celibate and not have any human touch? And yes, sexual touch too. That's not fair. That's awful for them. But they're not going to do well on the apps, obviously. So, again, life is not a level playing field. Everybody exists in different spaces, sexually too. I've seen a lot of that. And I think shaming or trying to control any of it, we should instead find what's compatible for us, whatever we want, whether that's monogamy forever, which is cool, or going to orgies, which is cool too, whatever. Don't yuck someone else's yum is what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I have things I like and things I don't, people I like and people I don't. That's fine. So yeah, I did a debate podcast with a guy who's a aggressive Christian, thinks porn should be illegal. Everybody who watches porn should be locked up. Well, it turns out, guess what? He couldn't control his own porn addiction. Shocker. Obviously. So what he needs is a very controlled society because apparently he spins out of control with porn. What he doesn't understand is that for most people, that is not the case. In fact, porn has it's been democratized with like OnlyFans and stuff. Turns out a lot of women have a much better body positivity these days because they're finding out that porn doesn't have to just be skinny young white girls, that there's porn stars of all different types and ages and shapes, and they have millions of fans. And we didn't know that. There were gatekeepers who thought that to be attractive sexually, you had to only look one way. And it turns out that's not true at all. There's a fan base for just about everything. I'm so sorry. My dog is barking.
No,
That's okay.
it happens to you all the time. So.
Yeah, we all have dogs.
He's a sex phobic. He's never had sex. Got neutered for 6 months. What is this she's talking about?
He's on Only Dogs.
He does. He'll help another dog, but that's more about you're my bitch. That was a nice thing. No consent. Shame on him.
Aww.
Isn't all animal sex rape anyway?
I mean, I don't think so. There's cats and heat that totally want it, right?
They're crawling around asking
Or
for
maybe non-consensual. I don't know.
Lions. The lions.
even like the birds and stuff. Don't they like the male ones come and like prance around like the woman be like, hey,
Look at how
you want me.
Well, those are the gay pigeons. I
others.
think.
There's magpies. The male will decorate his nest with like shiny objects and be like, look at my apartment. Like,
I'm here.
yeah, it's like guys getting a good car or something, little
Same thing.
I mean, yeah.
I remember going out with one of my friends and he got trashed, and I had like just gotten my driver's license, and I was pregnant, so I was the designated driver, and they wanted me to drive his car, and it was a super high-end car, and I was so scared, and he wouldn't even let anybody else in. It was just me and him, so he could tell me where to go. Everybody else had to find their own way back to his house.
Oh God.
So I'm driving this car, probably like half the speed limit, and he looks at me, and this was just somebody that we were friends. I looked at him like a big brother. And he's like, dude, do you know how much this car cost? And I'm like, a lot of money. He's like, yeah. But you know what the crazy part is? I get more pussy riding my $8,000 motorcycle than I do this fucking car. This was such a fucking waste of money. I can't even let people in my car because then they'll get it dirty. And I'm just dying.
Pretty good.
Dying. And no, he was adorable. He had like that, he was mixed with the curly, like dirty blonde hair and the blue eyes and tan and tall. he just thought it had to do with the motorcycle, not something that like, he deserved or garnered from like him being him, but what he had.
Motorcycles are pretty sexy.
They
and I feel like, yeah, he's trying to downplay the fact that he was cute, which doesn't hurt ever. Like,
Okay.
I never cared about beauty in a person. I've fucked some 10s, male models. Yeah, they look great naked. And honestly, I've had sex with some men who were downright ugly by conventional standards. Surprisingly, sometimes very good in bed. And if they were funny and brilliant and successful and powerful, they were super sexy to me. Like, didn't care. Like, I mean, looks, it's fine, but I think it's odd. Like when some people are slaves to it, like they gotta look this way.
Yeah, no, I'm not the looks person. It's all about there has to be some sort of connection. Yeah, but it baffles me how much men even put themselves down.
Well, yeah. I mean, he got all the magpie shiny shells in his nest, and then he didn't think you use what you got. Look, I mean, people like a nice body. People like a successful person with a good job. I mean, you use what you got, and you can either be mad at it, like,
Or
like when some women's like, yeah, does your boyfriend really love you? Well, if you didn't fuck him, he probably wouldn't stay with you. So maybe he doesn't even love you. It's just sex. Well, no, he loves you, but the sex is part of it. If you didn't fuck him, he would leave you. And you can either be mad about that and be like, well, men don't even love women. They just want to fuck them and have babies with them. But I don't think that's true. I think they do also like the companionship. Same with women. They might all are successful, but we do actually like each other. These gender wars, especially online, saying that people, I don't think it's true. I think there's your friend.
I have a very supportive female like surrounding
Nice.
me. Like I have a very supportive male group. You're looking at two of my support group right here.
Oh, that's important, right?
We all raise each other up. It's so important to have that kind of like balance around you.
Yeah. I mean, my sister is probably my built-in best friend, and that is so great. Well, she's literally known me my whole life. She knows what a complete moron I am. And it's great to talk to. She's in California, but we talk every day, of course. And it's so nice that, somebody who really knows you, like really knows you, is great. And she's been married to the same. She met her husband in college, and he's a good dude. They're completely partners, and they do it all. They both work a lot. They raise kids. It's amazing. I don't know how she does it all because, again, I'm too scared of the kids in her family.
See, there's that fear.
Well, yeah, like I think I lived with a guy once for a while, and I didn't like it. Like if I was like, why is this person's in my?
Well, not everyone's meant to be in the same space all of the time.
No.
No, like you need a bigger house than I can afford. It, I think is what would have had to happen. Because, like, what's amazing? No one touches your shit. Awesome. And there's love. There's all kinds of love. Like, my grandma was a pretty famous photographer in Europe. She never married anybody. She had a boyfriend that my father was the product of, like, a serious relationship. And she had a million friends and fame and work, and she had love, just a different kind.
Well, I feel like that's okay. I feel like also that those generations were a little more okay with not being together, because that's how my grandma... she was married to my grandfather. They had 11 kids. Well, more than 11. A couple of them died, but they had a bunch of kids. And then when my mom moved here, my grandma came and kind of left my grandpa in Peru and stayed here.
Oh, he couldn't come or didn't want to, or what?
He was living on their farm in like Peru and just kind of was there. And then like my grandma was just living like with us, and she was living with my aunt, and she then she got her own apartment and was just kind of like here. And yeah, my grandpa was in Peru, and then he ended up passing away when I was like 7, and my grandma never went back. So it was just like, but they loved each other very much and had a great relationship while they were raising their kids.
And hey, you can't fight long distance. I mean, my grandpa who was the pilot, he was military, right? So they did long stretches apart. And I think it probably was really romantic when they got back together. And then she did have to kind of be a single mom, not salary wise. He had the military benefits, but time wise, he wasn't there. So I think this was a thing. Like, I mean,
It's okay to not be around your
You
spouse.
get used to what your reality is.
yeah, sure. I mean,
It
right?
doesn't have to be something negative. Like I'm in a long distance relationship, and I can choose to like feel like I'm suffering in that because, like, you know, when we're together, it's amazing. But like maybe that's what is part of it. Like because
I think
it's so
you get
special. Like we have these huge breaks, and then we're not together, and then when we are, it's just we soak all of that in because now
you
that's
can
our
do your
moment.
life, do your errands, live your life, do your thing with the
Yeah.
kid. Like, do you think you'll ever live closer or no plans?
I don't know because my life is very much driven by what my children I feel is best for them. And I kind of like let them dictate where our lives go, which is I have awful service right now. I am in Florida. And for whatever reason, the service out here in this area just isn't the greatest. But you make do with what you have. So the hope is to be closer. But if this is our reality, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of romantic. You get the best of each other, and then you can, you know.
It is. And I'm not really the type of person that can stay in one place for too long.
Yeah.
Like I'll be home for maybe like 3 weeks and then go, okay, guys, let's go. We're going to Disney. We're doing something.
Yeah, I
Here anymore.
listened to some of those episodes. Like, that's great. Though. Travel makes for a very rich life.
But you're a traveler too.
Sure.
So you have to tell me, where is the best places to go when you don't want to be on a plane for 20 hours?
I mean, the best are the Almonds. That's the best in America, Amangiri, Utah. You got to either fly private into Page or you got to drive like 6 hours from Phoenix or Vegas across the desert. But it's a beautiful drive. It's at the corner of it's like at the corner of Arizona and Utah near Lake Powell. And you could drive through this desert. It'd be beautiful through like Zion and Moab, make a road trip out of it. But I mean, it depends if you don't want to. I mean, America's great. It's such a huge country with such
And it's so different.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
so many different places that you can go to, which is amazing.
We've got it all: beaches, and mountains, and cities. I mean, we really have it all compared to like tiny little European or Asian countries.
Even the difference between New York and Florida is insane.
Sure, and it's a couple hours, which
Yes.
is you can do both up and down. I mean, these kids, they're figuring out how to put a VPN on their computer, and they're working from Florida, and the boss doesn't even know they're not here. They just fly up for a meeting, pray to God their flight doesn't get canceled, and so far so good, right? In the dark winter months, yeah, that's why we all leave. Like, Manhattan's amazing, but you do have to. I was just in the Hamptons for a few days, and sunlight, nature, goats, turkeys. I mean, you have to get off this island sometimes. But also shitty internet in East Hampton, right? So you think all that money they can't get 5G.
Oh, yes. I don't. It baffles me.
But I like to road trip. I mean, or
Yeah.
even like when you get older, like not so much out west, but there's Amtrak has like some of the fancier trains are beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I need to jump in on this one.
Sleep on the train. They have
Uh-oh.
the
Yeah, no, I've done this.
That's not good. No, you don't like it?
The long one.
No, I did. I rented a sleeper car once, and it was actually pretty cool. I went from New York to California for a bunch of meetings because I love flying so much, like I said. But it would be long, and then
Get you some Xanax and get you on a plane.
I'd see that's what works. Xanax does work, and I did get to a point with the train when I was like, I'm taking Xanax on the train, and
You don't like trains either?
no, I do, but it was so long, and I'm like, I'm not driving. I'm like, well, let me just drive this thing. Let me take over. So. But the sleeper car was great. You have your own shower, you have your own bed. It's kind of cool, and you see everything go by, which is really awesome. And
No, wait, you don't from the sky. I mean, do you like road tripping?
love
Like,
road tripping.
yeah, that's fun.
But are you like stuck
freedom.
in one cart?
No. You go and you have the dining cart,
cart.
Walmart cart, and talk to
I
people.
feel like we should do this.
It's kind of
One
cool.
that goes across Canada and it has a glass.
Yes,
You see, like
What?
National Park and the Rockies.
Amtrak has that too. There's the
Really?
viewing car, and it's kind of cool. What's really cool is you're just talking to people because you have no choice. So I'm like next to Amish people, and then here's some young kids who are from Scotland traveling across the country, and it's a super cool
That's
experience.
cool.
There are a lot of old people the way there are on cruise ships.
Not really. No.
That's time and money to travel.
True though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how Audrey does. Audrey flies probably once a week. Is that
yeah,
forth to New York?
I think this is the longest that I'll be in one place. And I'll be here for 8 days.
So I fully respect you guys for flying and being pilots, and it's awesome.
Get used to it, and like obviously charter's nicer. Like I don't charter; it's a waste of money for one person. It's ludicrous. But the new semi-privates like JSX and Aero, those are great.
That's how I
The
go.
dog plane.
Yeah, JSX we have nicknamed the dog plane. So
Yeah. Dude, have you heard about Bark Air?
Bark Air? What is
Dude,
this?
look at Bark Air. It's a Gulfstream 5. It only goes LA, New York, London right now. But it's a G5 and they trick it out and it's dog friendly. It's $6,000 per leg. So it's not cheap. But and they're adding routes and it's for like, you know, if you've got a big old Great Dane and you're rich and you don't want to put it in cargo, that's what it's for. I don't know if it'll succeed or not, but they're trying. It's a thing.
I mean, I see a lot of dogs on these flights now.
Yeah, mine goes under the seat. I did the support animal ski, and he provides the support of being amazing. And they can't say shit. Honestly, he's half the size of a cat. Like they don't even see him usually. So
Wait, the last flight I was on, this girl had hers, and it was like walking around, and it peed on the bathroom door.
Whoa.
And she sees it happen, looks at it, tells the person that she's with, I have no clue who he was to her, that, and then proceeds to like hand the dog off and go to the bathroom. But no, she just went to the bathroom to use the bathroom. And continued to step over it and had sat back down and just left her dog's pee right there at that door. And I was like, that's awesome.
right. The airport has the relief area, like this dumbass.
It was a similar to JSX plane.
Like something nice, or were you on Spirit? Like what happened?
No, it was it was so it was through EXO.
Oh yeah,
And,
that should be better.
yeah, well,
I
was peeing on the bathroom door, so
made my ex do Spirit. I just wanted to do it once.
I know you tore up.
Well, also it was the only nonstop LAX to Milwaukee, and we were going to see the Bucks win a couple years ago, the NBA Finals, and he was like, "We'll just charter
up sports." I love her.
Well, and I wanted the game was at 4:30, so I was like, if we charter into Chicago, like go NetJets, we'll have to drive an hour and a half. We might not make it to the game with traffic. So let's just have fun and do Spirit once. It was absolutely as awful as we thought it would be. They have a first class product. They call it Big Front, and the seats don't recline. And it's the people in the terminal. It was like Star Wars Cantina. Like he was so mad when we landed in Milwaukee. He called NetJets immediately. He was like, "Tomorrow morning, we are not fucking getting on that Spirit jet again." And we flew home. As we should have. And he was so mad at me. He's like, "What's the matter with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, $129, sir." And one was $50,000. So, you know, I mean,
wait, you're based in New York, right?
I live in New York now. I lived in LA for 24 years.
And are you a hockey fan by any chance?
I mean, I like all good sports. And I've dated a couple guys who worked in I dated one for years who owned a team. Their family did with another family. And then I've dated guys who worked pretty high up in like finance for sports. So, and then I dated a baseball scout for years. So I've been like 50-yard line, courtside, on the paint, on the glass for like every inning. But
That's awesome.
We have to connect.
yeah, I mean, I
am huge into sports.
Well,
I saw that. You're a big Rangers fan, right?
Rangers, Knicks, love Brunson. He's now captain.
Audrey sits where you just mentioned. She goes to the games all the time. So yeah, you should definitely hit up a
I
game.
like them all. I like Formula One. I think the Miami product's a little tacky, but they're getting better at it. I like Kota and Austin.
We like the Jets.
I mean, sure. Yeah. Having known
I'll
people
be up there.
who worked inside. It's so funny. They're so nihilistic. They're like Switzerland. They don't care. They just want you to watch the commercials. And I've sat there like on the Tuesday night game that nobody cared about next to the team owner with somebody being like trying to pretend they cared about this game to like make nice. And I've seen them trot out like the major advertiser, like the CEO of Taco Bell, and, you know, my date having to like tell inside sports stories to keep the major advertiser happy. And I mean, when you're down, like, wow, I went to the Suns game. That was the canary in the coal mine of COVID, where in Phoenix, and you had to get there like 7 hours early and all the testing and the nose fucking and all that. And so if you were courtside, you couldn't even have water. Although at halftime, we all went into the club, whatever the club is there. I forget the name. But we were on camera, right? So they were like, you will not pull down that mask to even have water, nothing, because the players are mad because basketball's so up close. If they get COVID, the season gets ruined, right? So you will not take that mask off. And so we're all sitting there. It's miserable. These are revenue seats. They can't sell now because rich people don't want to sit there with the goddamn mask on. And off camera, about 6 rows up, which wasn't on air, everyone's up there with their hot dogs and their gin and tonics and like having so much fun with beers. No mask, nothing, the whole way up. And then there's us just like, miserable. But Sarver literally said, if anybody gets COVID, you will not report it because 0 cases. Otherwise, we're not going to have an NBA season.
Oh, no.
He didn't get COVID, but officially there were 0 cases. And then they were able to have, he was willing to be the first one back a few years ago.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's couldn't even have water. So.
I mean, you guys did it.
Well, we were the sacrificial lambs because certainly they couldn't sell those seats with that experience, right? But I just like good sports. I like excellence. Anybody who's living their life, raising humans is an excellent thing to do. Broadcasting and giving voices to like nothing's off the table of who you'll talk to. I think we're only here for a few decades. You got to do something. So when I watch sports, I don't totally care who wins. I just like watching the excellence. I feel a little bit of allegiance for California teams because that's where I'm from, but not necessarily like I like it when the Knicks win. I don't care.
Like sports. I like telling, and yet I was an athlete growing up, so
nice.
Me watching them, like I feel bad for the ones that lose. I feel great for the ones that win. It's just, I don't know. I can really get into them.
I didn't hear that on any of the stuff I listened to. What did you do
with sports?
Yeah.
Oh, so I played softball.
Nice.
I was center field and pitcher.
Weren't you track too?
I ran track. So I was told my first year on softball, I was told do not run in front of the track coach. I was really fast. And they were afraid that they were going to try to take me from softball. So the second year, I guess I got out and they did see me and they did want me on the team. And they put me on both, which apparently you're not supposed to do. But
times
they're during the same season.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we had softball practice, the track team would be running around us. So they would kind of integrate me in between the practices. And then when we played schools that were really hard running against, then I ran track. When we were against schools that were more like softball oriented, I was there. I was wherever they needed me. They needed me on the chess team because they needed one more player. And I just happened to know the basics of chess. I never made it past the first round.
It's still
but there was a chess team because I was willing to just be there.
Did you sprint or run middle distance? Would you run?
I sprinted. I was a sprinter, and then I started running cross country.
Nice.
So then I started doing 5-mile runs, and there I was like placing in top 3, and I was that kid that was showing up. I shouldn't even be saying this. I would be smoking on the way to the track.
Allegedly.
But as a guy, this is a great podcast for me right now because it's things that guys love. It's sports and sex we'll talk about. And it's like a perfect,
flying, your favorite.
And flying.
But it had food in, and then we hit all the the categories. That
what else do we need? Right?
Just sex. So
that's where did you go to school, Audrey?
I went to school so my high school was in Newark, New Jersey. I went to an all-girls Catholic school.
Oh, wow.
But I moved around a lot growing up. So I was in school in Georgia, in New York, in a variety of schools in New York, and a variety of schools in Georgia.
Sport. That's softball rates well on TV. They're doing more to put it on air, and also because maybe the tight pants, the girls are cute, whatever, who cares? It sells. Also, these girls are great athletes, and that sport has a real broadcast future already burgeoning because it turns out it looks good on TV. You know, the pitching distance isn't that far.
Yeah.
It films well. So there a lot of media is very interested in that as a product.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, women's tennis also always rated well because the skirts and the legs. And I mean, whatever. I'm a nihilist. If they put more women on, I'm here for it. If it's the looks that got to get us in the door, I don't give a shit. Fine.
You know, I actually tell my children that. I'm like, you have to be cognizant of the reality of life. And people will look at you differently when you take care of yourself and you present yourself in a well-kept way. And you just can't roll out of bed and go somewhere and expect them to have the highest opinion of you. You need to utilize every tool that you have. And you know what? Unfortunately, but fortunate for you, your feminine looks can work to your advantage if you learn how to work with it.
To the exclusion of also being smart and kind and everything else. Everything's competitive, but right, why not give yourself the leg up?
Exactly.
You know,
You just important.
well, sometimes I go walk my dog and I look straight feral, but that's because I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
I'm worried maybe I'm walking by a billionaire who would have been my next husband and he didn't talk to me because I looked like homeless, but whatever. You don't have infinite time to like look perfectly polished all day, every day. But you're right. You should give yourself the leg up and whatever it takes. I mean, look, when I watch NFL, I'm looking at those guys' butts. That's fine. I mean, all women are. It's we're all doing it. It's all right. Athletes are great.
It's a rule that's been around forever. I mean, sex, even the idea of sex, it sells. It absolutely sells it anywhere. TV, advertising, whatever. Sex sells. I
would rather we sell sex, not literally, but like sexuality, like perfume ads are sexy, than sell rage, like we were talking about earlier. I think that's more damaging. When I barely log into X anymore because I don't know about if you're on there, but my feed is just people being horrible to each other. I don't know who any of them are. I don't know why the algorithm is giving me this, but it's people I've never heard of being really awful. And that I don't want that. I would rather, I'm not a huge fan of porn. I watch it once in a while, but I'd rather see sex than fury.
Definitely.
If I had to pick, I mean, violence. It's America's movies are so violent. It's weird. Like, my family's from Europe, and you know, after 9 o'clock in Paris, all the sex is on TV late at night. It's normal.
I remember when I was in the army. I was in the army, and when we came over to Germany, so I was stationed in Germany, and I remember being on a flight with other brand new soldiers, and they were young, just out of like high school. And we land, and there are magazines just lined up in the airport. And they're just boo.
I love that.
And just everything just out on it. And these guys were so shocked. But they were the only ones standing there staring at this. Like it was something they'd never seen before.
Well, anything forbidden and transgressive, people obsess about it more. Go to the Middle East and watch how they look at you if you wear yoga pants. You might as if you were running around naked, because they could see
you were by, and I got nervous. And
I mean, you'll see people in Galabeas right next to like your asses out. It's very weird. Well, they're capitalists, right? So it's Islamic, but there's liquor everywhere. It looks exactly like Las Vegas. Same restaurants, same shops. It literally
Vegas either.
No, what?
No.
Oh, Vegas is fun.
I know. I need to. I know.
You've been all over and you haven't been to Vegas?
I know.
I mean, you can just get your girlfriends and go to Vegas. It's fun like that too.
I'm gonna have to.
I don't know. Is it not? I mean, I'm not a gambler. I find gambling boring, and I know enough math.
I'm a gambler.
Even though without the gambling, you don't need to. I was in Vegas for like a month with one of my cousins. She lived out there, and we just went to all the shows. And
I want to do that.
I've so many shows. There's so much like different stuff to do out there where you're not just.
Jen's right, but you should cap it at like 3 days tops, because then it just gets overwhelming.
Yeah. I taught flying. One of my first flight instructor jobs after I got my instructor tickets was at KVGT. So that's not McCarran. That's North Vegas Airport, north of the Strip. And it's in the hood. It's not a good area. The Vegas SWAT team guys had their hangar next to us with all their like tanks and stuff. And like, if the world ended, that's where I was going. And the manliest hangar, and you got a weight bench and like cops in there and like tanks and guns. And but we were in a pilot apartment, 6 of us, 3-bedroom apartment, crash pad because we're never home. And we were directly above a pimp and his ladies. It's just North Vegas is like a city of just lost dreams. It's maybe the saddest place I've ever lived.
Is it sadder than Reno?
Similar. I agree with you, sir. Reno, the silver. It's the saddest casino. You've been in there?
Hey, I have. I've been to Elko, Nevada, too, which is even worse than Reno. So
why?
I like to travel.
Okay. I mean, it's probably beautiful outside the cities, right?
It looks like your background a little bit.
This is Utah. I mean, you drive up the hill to Tahoe, then it's suddenly quite
very gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And then, Yellowstone's there, and that's also stunning. So definitely.
California is visually beautiful. The bright light just more beats me. I mean, that's why the movie industry went out there. Yeah. And I don't miss, my family's all in Northern California. It's a very special part of the world.
Northern California. I lived out there with my sister for a little while.
Did you? What part?
Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Oh, why did you leave? It's spectacular. I'd move there tomorrow if I could.
I missed my family and I came back here. And then my sister ended up moving to Southern California and was living there. And it was just a whole thing.
Santa Cruz, Capitola, like
that is so beautiful.
Why are you in New York?
I wanted to. I do what I want.
I like that.
I love
what I want. Yeah.
Well, and I love New York. I should have moved here 20 years ago. I almost did. I looked at properties. I remember I looked at an apartment on 57th and 5th, and it was a 2-bedroom with a view of Central Park.
Are you kicking yourself now?
Yeah, there was 1.2 million, and I thought, who the fuck would ever pay 1.2 million? Oh, that place is 10 at least. And it would have been a stretch. I would have had to get a big loan, but I would have made so much money, and I didn't. But I wanted to have this experience. My parents are aging. I'm sure I'll have to be back in California soon.
Oh, so they're still out there.
I go every month. I mean, it could be, if God forbid something happened to them tomorrow, I would rent my home out and move. So it could be anytime. I hope it won't. We'll see how that goes. I can't leave it all to my sister. She'll kill me. Nor would I. So I'm 47. I was like, if I don't have this New York experience, and everyone loves New York. What did Nora Ephron said? There's the people that work in New York and they live in like Connecticut or whatever. Those are the lifeblood of New York, the finance people. And then there's the beating heart of New York, the Staten Island cops and the guys who work construction. And then the third people are the people who came here because they fell in love with New York. And I don't belong here. I'm not born and raised, but I just fell in love and I had to. It was like Moby Dick's white whale. If I kept chasing it and never caught it, it would be to a great regret.
How long have you been there?
2 years.
It said it takes 10 years to be a real New Yorker, so you got some time to go.
I mean, it was back and forth with, but it's very different. I mean, I was back and forth for 20 years, but it's so different to like stay in a hotel and do the Broadway thing. And it's, I'm an idiot. Like I like the subway. I don't take it too late at night because I know it's gross, but I don't care. It's all a big adventure. And like not sitting in LA traffic. Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Is it better for your work too, being in New York?
I'm adding my rotorcraft rating and it's very, the pier's not too far. So that part's easy, but the airspace is really difficult. The exclusion that we can fly in is like a slice. Reporting statue makes me laugh. You report on dissent, you report statue, which is the Statue of Liberty, which to me is like, oh my God, I'm reporting statue because I'm a dork that just moved here. I think I probably should have lived on Billionaire's Row to like try to find my next husband. I didn't move there because that was the part I already knew from being a tourist. That's like where all the hotels, that's where you stay when you visit if you're in fancy hotels. And I already knew that those few blocks. But I love New Yorkers. I think they are so fucking smart and sharp and bright. They're so much more honest than LA people.
Well, thank you on behalf of all of us.
Well, they're straight shooters and they're busy. So sometimes they don't have time. The pace is much faster here. I'm not quite used to that yet, but I like it. I like to explore more of New England. My aunt lives in Boston, so it's nice to get there. And And yeah, in terms of like,
I love going to Boston. I know I'm not supposed to say that as a Yankees fan. I love Boston. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Educated and classy.
We actually had a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We were all up in Maine, and it was awesome. We were on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
It was super cool.
I need to do that. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
It was cold, but it was beautiful.
You rent a car or you have a car? Do you live in New York City?
None of us do. We're all Jeff's in Connecticut. I'm in Jersey. Audrey's in Connecticut and Miami. But yeah, we just drive.
Yeah, I kept a license, so I can rent a car or a motorcycle. I have a motorcycle license too, but
Nice.
I have a motorcycle. I just don't know how to ride it.
You bought one?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you know how you had this thing where you didn't want to regret always like wanting to experience New York as like a resident?
Yeah.
I always wanted a motorcycle. And I kept on saying that. So for my 40th birthday, I was like, you know what? I'm buying a motorcycle. I just don't know how to ride it.
Wait, she needs to finish. She bought a fucking Ducati. So
Oh, that's great. Ducatis are gorgeous.
I don't know how to ride it.
Oh, you did it right.
I'm having a sip
My
down
husband
here.
had to pick it up to bring it to her house.
Did you? Nice. Yeah, those are the prettiest one. Well done. That's of course.
Gorgeous, right? But that's what I fell in love. So I also have this thing with cars and motors and engines. And you could ask me everything you want about it technically, and I have no clue. All I know is that I fell in love with a sound. I fell in love with the sound and the purr of a motor, but it has to be a proper one, not the ones that they gas up to sound like they are a Ducati or they are a Ferrari. No, the real purr. So that's all it was. I just wanted to be able to turn it on and hear that and feel that purr, and that's why I wanted a motorcycle and I wanted a Ducati. So I got it.
And you got the best one. It'll have, if you change light, it'll have resale value. If not, you keep a piece of art. Those high revs, like the way motorcycles are. I had a Rice Rocket, a Honda S2000 when I was young, and the red line was 9,000. It was essentially a motorcycle on a 4-wheel, track. I think it's just good old fashioned suck, push, bang, blow, which is amazing. But the maneuverability, right? Do you like boats too, or no? Just cars?
I do like boats.
Yeah. Also interesting. You're like on skates, right? Because there's that delay in steering, and maneuverability is a lot different. But I think
I don't drive the boat. I have a captain do that. I just like being in the boat.
Okay. You don't want to drive it?
No. So I did try driving or riding a what are those things? I did it with Aubrey. Yes, the jet ski.
Yeah.
And the waves hitting me, and then I have this thing with the water, and then it just kept going like this, and I was like, nope, can't do this. Got to get off.
You went where it was a little choppy. That's no fun.
It was very choppy.
Well, that's just like when you fly a plane. It's like being in the ocean. Like waves are just.
Yeah.
And you can either go real fast across, or you can go real slow and do this. But if you go that medium speed, you start getting slammed. It sucks. Like I like to jet ski in the Hudson, which is not really
Dirty water.
well.
But if you go past the Tappan Zee Bridge, it's fine. It's gorgeous.
And if you go really early in the morning at sunrise, it's like glass. There's no
Really?
East River. It's like deeper and choppy.
Yeah, choppy, very choppy East River.
Yeah. If you go around the whole island, it sucks. But if you stay on the Hudson, it's like glass. But I know
You would not know I was born in the Bronx.
if you swallow the water, though, then you get
Yeah, that's why I was just like, oh, that water.
You just die right away.
Spider-Man.
Jet skis, a lot of water splashes back in your face, so I can't imagine that there's not some getting in there at some point.
You gotta go. Yeah, calm is good. I know, but yeah, no. I mean, it's a wide world, and I think that's lovely that you like motorbike, but you got to ride it. That Ducati.
So it's being shipped down here. So I have cars. I had a company bring some of my cars from Connecticut down to Florida, and the same company is actually going to bring my motorcycle now.
Nice.
And then there's a motorcycle school about 7 minutes from my house. So
Perfect.
I'll go there. Then I'll learn how to actually drive it. I'm excited.
Literally, like I took my lessons in Southern California at the Harley Davidson store.
That's what it is. It's a Harley Davidson school.
Yeah, and they're great.
Are they good?
Some little one. I'm not a Harley. Like it wasn't a Road King. It was little for me.
Yeah.
880. I don't know. It had a number. I can't remember. I don't know Harleys that well. But the good thing is it got me, I don't know how your school is, but it got me out of the road test. I just had to go to the DMV and take the written.
Get out, really? Oh, I don't know how it's going to work. I haven't gotten like all the way with them.
Yeah.
I wanted to get the bike down here first.
Well, and especially if they can let you learn on yours, that'll be that much
That's
better.
what my son just did. He got his motorcycle license
Nice.
2 weeks ago, or so. He and at the school they taught him, and then he was able to just go in and get his license.
And out off this island, like Jersey and Connecticut, there's so many beautiful like roads to ride.
So many back roads that are so beautiful. So
That's why I need to learn it down here. That way, when I get up there, I'll be able to enjoy the roads instead of panicking about.
Yeah. I date two people, old friends I've known forever, casually. And one of them is a Porsche guy. And he likes very pretty, shapely cars. But I didn't even bring a car to Manhattan.
You don't need one.
Well, yeah. Why? I mean, I wouldn't be driving it. And obviously, I have a license. I'll just rent them when I'm, ooh, is that her? She's so pretty.
yes, I love her.
Nice.
Sexy.
It too. Like, I mean, it's amazing, right? What we've invented. Like, somebody figured out you could compress air and then ignite it and you would get all this power. It's nonsense.
That's amazing.
Dude, who figured that out? Like,
I love the way the brain works.
I guess just bored people. Like, I know, for instance, aviation, they knew the hot air balloons. They figured out if you trapped hot air, stuff would rise, right? That was the French that figured that out. Do you know why you take champagne with you when you travel? Like why they break it on a yacht or why they take it on journeys? That comes from France and the hot air balloons. They would take these hot air balloons. First, they flew up animals to see, okay, does it die or not up there? Comes back down, animals fine. Then they sent up prisoners to see how humans did. Then the next was like princes and second sons, rowdy young men were like, we want to do it. You know, hot air balloons, you don't have a lot of navigation. You go where the wind takes you. They land and topple over in these fields in the Loire Valley. And there's no internet, no newspapers even. There's just the town crier. These people, the farmers would come out and be like, that's an alien and let's kill it, right? We don't know what that fucking thing is landing in our field. So they learned to bring booze to be like, I'm not an alien. I mean you no harm. Would you like some champagne? Where champagne and journeys. So like a lot of planes, you'll crack when you buy a plane or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
it comes from not trying to get murdered in a hot air balloon when you landed in war.
I mean, at least they've picked up on the fact that they needed to, come along with bearing gifts. Oh, maybe that's where that came from.
Always a good idea. Yeah, lead with politeness, right? I mean, I think it is the end. Politeness is the lube that makes the anal sex of interacting with human beings easier.
I mean, hey.
It makes everything just greasier and good.
So you've had a pretty diverse career, including sex work. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, so I was, an unabashed gold digger. I dated successful men that provided for me. I was broke in grad school. And that stemmed informally when I was in a sorority in college. I was candy striping. I thought I was going to go to med school until I figured I was too stupid for organic chemistry. So met this doctor. I was a college student, negative income, super broke. And he was a young doctor making a lot. So he just sort of paid for everything. He's like, you want to go to opera? Well, you can't even afford the dress. So I send you shopping because he knew I didn't have money to even be able to keep up. And you want to go to Tahiti for a week? Well, I'll get you the week's worth of clothing and stuff because you don't have all that and you don't have the money to even go. I would have not gone because I couldn't even keep up. So that's how that sort of started. And he did love me. We dated for 7 years. That's the first guy I ever slept with. And then, guys can't come upstairs in sororities, or at least they couldn't back then, at least in my house at Cal. So he wanted to get me an apartment so that he could stop staying in hotels in Berkeley every time he came over. He lived in an adjacent town. So I couldn't afford it, and he wanted somewhere nice. He didn't want me living in some shithole. So he bought it for me. And I guess like a lot of pretty young women, yeah, rich guys liked me. And it was either date this guy who can take me to Tahiti and send me shopping in San Francisco, or some frat boy who wouldn't even pay for my lunch. Like, who the fuck would you pick? And he was nice. And he was only 10 and a half years older. He wasn't like 90, and he was cute. I had some sorority sisters who were like, he's like 29. That's gross. But I didn't think it was gross. I thought he was hot. And I liked his brilliance. and I liked his maturity. And so my mother's considerably younger than my father, so maybe it's in the blood, or that's what I saw. My sister and her husband are the same age, which is fine too. But yeah, I loved him, and I did like that he was rich, and I did like that he provided for him. It made my life nicer and easier. And he probably liked that I was young and cute. Sure, whatever. That's actually been normal for most of human history. Now women have a lot of their own money. That's very, very recent and only in a few places. Within my generation, women couldn't get a credit card or a loan without a male cosigner. That's within my life.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, now, I see these Manhattan girlies that make $1 million a year. They make more than the guy they're dating. It's totally different. But that's been like 20 years, maybe, and only in a few places on planet Earth. So I'm not sorry about dating guys who were successful if I also loved them and he was cute and he was nice to me. There was no abuse happening at all. So I go to LA to do my MBA. We don't make it. We break up. I find myself super broke, kind of lonely, kind of mad, not ready to like fall in love again. But, want to have sex, want to date men, could use some money for grad school. And I thought, oh, well, I'll just do sex work. I had heard of it in my sorority. There was a girl I knew doing it. I had kind of put it in the back of my brain somewhere like, oh, you get paid thousands of dollars and I'm doing that for free. Same thing. She kind of was at the very privileged end, and she told us all she was going across the Bay Bridge to San Francisco and having dinner with a tech dork and going home with thousands of dollars. And the rest of us were like, what? That's a thing you can do? Like, who knew? And so I thought, oh, I'm in LA. That's got to exist here. I'll look for that. And so looked around for, on the burgeoning internet that was very slow, almost was still dial-up then, or maybe just not dial-up. And couldn't find anybody to like work for who arranged those, like these kind of matchmakers that arrange those. But one told me, oh, you can do this yourself. You just get a website and it's like a personals ad. You just hang your hat out that you like successful men. And yes, they will date you. They will like you. And sure enough, they did. So, yeah, I dated a billionaire for years and years, and a Hollywood agent took me all over the world. And also some bad stuff happened. I picked a date in Orange County, California with a guy who said he owned a scuba diving shop and who I liked. And yes, I hoped he would help me pay for grad school. I was broke. And I did like him though. And it turned out to be a cop, and I got arrested for going on a date with a guy that I liked and was attracted to. We talked on the phone for like 2 nights before, and I would have been happy to sleep with him. I was horny and bored and lonely, and I got arrested for that. And I will never agree that that was a crime or a sin. I liked generous men and that I wanted to go on a date. That's not a fucking crime.
No.
But it had to hire a lawyer. It all worked out in the end. Also had a ton of fun. Also got stalked by a pimp. It turns out there are those people who want you to work for them and sell sex blatantly, like either on the street or in their homes and things. And
He stalked you?
That's so scary.
yeah, they see you online and they're like, oh, you're marketable and pretty, and yeah, I'll and they know there's a lot of money there because men like you, and they want a piece of that. And now it's OnlyFans management. They want to manage your OnlyFans and they control it and they take all your money, and that's the new version of it. And there's a million of them, and there's sometimes organized crime, and there's sometimes just some little fucking douchebag, but that's a big problem. And the government's going to crack down on this OnlyFans management stuff too. They're already after it. They'll get it. It takes a while. But back in my day when I started, it was like actual pimps who wanted to like have you live in their house and sell sex to them and their friends, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. I told this pimp to go to hell, of course, because I'm not going to be controlled by a pimp. That's insane.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not going to sell sex out of some shit box in Torrance for some crackhead pimp. Like, what? And that was a bad idea to tell him to go to hell, because then he got pretty mad at me and he outed me to my family. And yeah, that was pretty bad. They didn't talk to me for a couple years. Now they do. They love me. They question my choices, but they love me, and that's a grace I don't deserve and I cannot repay. So I'm grateful for that, because a lot of people in my world get disowned by their families, and that contributes to poor mental health outcomes, sometimes drug and alcohol abuse to cope with the loneliness. The stigma their family doesn't want to deal with really harms them when they get abandoned by their family. And I know thousands of them whose families have disowned them. And luckily my family chose not to. After a couple of years of hating me, they circled back, and they still love me in spite of myself. So I'm lucky. And the pimp, I sued him and I won. He still owes me a judgment. That was never about money. I didn't care about the money. It was like 80 grand. Who cares? But then he tried to kill me when I won the lawsuit. And he went to prison for many, many years. You can Google it. You can read. It talks about a woman he was trying to murder. That was me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it turns out I was pretty naive and young and stupid because I didn't know that people like that really existed, like the movies and stuff. And this is why I would tell somebody, just even if you get to go to the Michelin dinners and the hotel suites, and yes, there is all that, just do something else because it's too hard. It's just too hard. The bad things are not worth the good things. Go get tech skills and do something else. You'll have a longer career and it'll be easier. And then you could just date a billionaire and he'll buy you all the shit anyway if that's your thing or not. But I have, survived as best I could, including the mistakes and the stumbles and the terror and the good stuff. And I'm here and I'm alive. And so I've got to live, and I do have the right to tell my story, and I'm going to, and they're not going to make me shut up.
No.
Because I know thousands of retired sex workers, high-end companions, whatever you want to call us. And most of them have to lie to be able to have a life as a mother, lawyer, business owner, whatever they're doing now. And I understand why they lie, but the problem with that is that it keeps us in the closet. Mm-hmm. When we're in the closet, the world fills the vacuum in knowledge with a lot of mythology that really hurts us. When they don't see us as just people, because that's what we are. I guarantee you no other sex workers, you just don't know it. They're in your yoga class, they're at your Whole Foods. You just don't know it. You might even love somebody who hasn't come out of the closet to tell you yet. I liken it to like the LGBTQ people when they couldn't come out because their lives were crime, which was not too long ago, right? Or people in interracial relationships when that was illegal and they couldn't tell the truth, right? So when we're in the closet, the legislators speak over us. They make laws that they don't talk to us. And we have always been part of the social fabric of the world for all of human history. And we all...
I'm a very avid reader. I have been, like, numbers don't work, but words I love. And one of the biggest foundations on healthy cultures has always been having that other area of, like, geisha.
Yeah. You're the third rail of marriage. I mean, I got in trouble once. I did that. Wives should get on their knees and thank God for us because we do the stuff they don't want to do. And then, well, they don't like that, right? But like, I mean, yeah.
But it's the reality of what I've had men tell me that the most successful relationships they've ever seen were the ones that were doing things behind doors without telling the world what they were doing because they were respecting their marriage. And it didn't mean that they didn't love their wives. And these are not people that I did anything with. These are just people that felt comfortable communicating these things with me. And they were just like, it's not, I don't not love my wife. I just have a stronger sex drive than she does. And I'm not going to take that out on her. And I'm not going to make her feel less than because of it. Right. I will have these needs met elsewhere.
Right.
Not throw it in my wife's face, not have it be my friend's business, because anyone in our lives doesn't need to know this.
And the sex worker's not trying to break up your marriage. She doesn't want you. She wants to go
because they're literally, yes, there's a purpose and but this is something that has existed from the very beginning of every culture, like in some way, just because they think that I feel like the more that people get educated on the value within humanity to be able to do something like this and be open about it, then they'll stop thinking of it as something that's like so negative.
To think about like in Australia where it's legal in most of the states there, your wife, she knows that on the way home from work, you can go get laid if you want because it's legal. So kind of this unspoken thing. Do wives like it? Of course not. However, does a wife have the right to tell her husband that he's only allowed to have sex when she wants? Mm-hmm. But like you said, he have the right to force sex on her. That's literally rape.
Yes.
So whose sex wins? Whose rights win? However,
but it's the same thing for women.
Well, does the wife like it, though, that he's spending resources that are technically community property, right? Half of that money is hers. That's the law, on sex work. Well, but would it be better if he got divorced and abandoned the family? These are complex issues. Correct.
Well, because psychologically, like, it could be impacting the man. And do you really, is that healthy for your household? So, like, it's no different than paying a therapist to help.
The radical feminists say that men should simply learn to feel less entitled to sex. That they say men don't die without sex. This high sex drive thing is a bullshit entitlement, in their opinion. It is not food or water. They will not die. The reason you know that is because there's people that don't have sex and they're still alive. That's the argument, is that sex drive is not like thirst or hunger. I don't know.
Psychologically impacts you.
If you could magically eradicate sex workers and every other woman your husband could cheat with, coworkers, neighbors, babysitter, friend, the apps, if you could somehow get rid of all of it, which you can't, then this fantasy that he's just going to be monogamous and settle for whatever sex you're willing to give him, which, yes, most men have a higher sex drive than most women. Not all, but many. That is a fantasy. He's not going to settle for that. He's going to leave. And I don't think that would be better for children and families. Now, why did Mother Nature invent one half having a higher sex drive than others? I don't know. Ask God. God's got a sick sense of humor. It'd be better if we were just compatible. Lesbians and gay guys have it right? Their sex drives match up better. But to make people, we have to do the yin and yang, right? We have to.
I think you could also find someone that's on the same, like, kind of sex drive as you. Like, it's try to...
Catholics try to have you have meetings with the priest and talk about your sex drives. It'd be better if people were more honest. However, it can also change. Like, I once talked to a wife really angry because she was like, my husband never wants morning sex, and that's when I'm the horniest. And he was like, well, when I wake up in the morning, I got to take a shit. I don't feel sexy at all. Well, it's a problem, right? And why didn't they talk about it? I don't know. You could take a shit and have a shower and come back and fuck, but I guess he didn't. So this
He doesn't feel sexy.
What do you do? I don't know.
He should wake up half an hour earlier
When
and
you
take care of that.
Nooner.
He's got to take care of his nest, like that bird you guys talked about. He's got to get
Right?
drop his douche and get his thing ready.
Well, and kinks. Some people like stuff that the other partner finds. I talked to a wife once who was like, giving blowjobs is demeaning. I was like, well, your husband's not just going to go the next 50 years with no head. So he's not going to do that. So you can pick. He's either going to get head somewhere else or you're going to give head when you don't want to. You pick.
So I had, we'll just say, someone I knew that did not believe in giving blowjobs, but she was also, this is crazy. This is one of those, this is real life. So she decided that it would be okay to bring in someone that she knew that also happened to be okay with blowjobs to give her partner blowjobs.
Oh,
Right. And she wouldn't. She was like, you know what? I'll bring
Take him
someone
for the
else in.
team.
Like
Yeah,
a sex worker or a friend? Or
No, it was
Not
a friend.
for
It
friends.
was literally a friend.
why would her friend do this for her? That's a
She was
different.
doing it. She did it. She
She's
did
not
it.
trying to steal the guy. She's not trying to
She
break.
did it until the day she walked outside on the balcony, was smoking a cigarette, and turned back around and came in, and they were fucking.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, you put it in your mouth enough, you're gonna like.
Well, yeah. So like,
The surprise of it though was the best part because she was surprised.
well, in this control. So like, I've been a part of threesomes where the wife is like, I'll let him do this because then I'm somehow in control. I can see. And guess what happens? He still wants to see somebody else alone because the pressure of having her right there staring at him.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Well, he can't really be himself because he's still worried about respecting her, and it's a whole. So even all that doesn't really work. Sometimes you can really love somebody and you just want to fuck somebody else. You know, I mean, it sucks. I wish we weren't wired that way. It'd be awesome if everybody was just like pair bonded for life. Like, don't some birds do that? I'm not sure.
Penguins, I think, don't they do it? Or,
Right? I wish we were penguins, but like we're not. Some people, and I don't know it. And the lying, of course, is so damaging because then you don't know if everything else the person that you love has told you is a lie. The reason
becomes questionable.
Well, and there have been these alienation of affection lawsuits where the wives have sued the mistress for the condo and the car he bought her because that was community property money. Half of it wasn't his to spend. So, that's damaging if you're spending the kid's college fund on some hot-ass mistress you got down in some apartment somewhere. It's the lying. And we're jealous creatures. I've been in love and I didn't love... same thing. If it was a threesome, I was somehow cooler, but if he lied and cheated, that was not okay. It's fucked up, right? Because I'm human, right? I felt the same emotions. We're humans.
I think everybody just has to be on the same page. I actually got into this triangle issue. And, yeah. Just all right, well, as long as I'm open with all parties involved, I feel like there's nothing for me to be embarrassed or ashamed about. I have a high sex drive. I was or felt like I was still young. And
you were still young. You
Aren't still young. It's not once.
I didn't feel like I should have had to continue on this cycle of just not having my needs met.
Oh yeah,
in the way that I wanted them to. So I just communicated to all parties. We're aware of each other. But it turned into this really big messy thing. And it did impact my family and my kids and my home. But I was honest.
What'd you say? You said 40th birthday. You look 20 to me. So how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Oh yeah. So one of the great things, I'm 47, almost 48. As you get older, everybody's got so much bullshit, so much shame, so many fuck ups. Everybody's been bankrupt or got a DUI or rehab or divorces. Your stuff, you said it impacted you, but everyone else has got a ton of shit too. And you'll find in your 50s and 60s people start not caring because they're like,
I don't. And you can start saying whatever you want. I remember my sister saying that when she turned in her mid 40s, 50s.
You get closer to death. You're like, we're all going to
be here anymore. You're like, I don't care if you don't like me. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. As the oldest person on this chat right now, just even though I look 20 or 21, I think when you get the older you get, the less fucks you give, and I've learned that, and it's so important because like you said, Amy.
Yeah, we don't have time, and
and I think that's the realization. I'm running out of time. Unfortunately, the females in my family don't make it that long, so I am more than halfway done.
You don't have to be here forever.
Women in my family don't really make it past their 70s.
Oh, they're
just heart issues, all sorts of medical related complications. So my expectations are a little more realistic, but I also think I realized that my life is so much more than just halfway done if I'm trending on the same path that my ancestors have. And is this what I want to do, or am I happy? And I wasn't. And I'm getting there, and I'm getting a lot closer. And
you may find that when Dennis Hoff, before he died, that guy, he was kind of a piece of shit, but he owned these brothels in Canada. He was not a nice man. He tried to get me to work for him once, and I was not that interested, but I sent an exploratory email with my conditions, and he said, "You do not make the rules. Stop doing drugs." I was like, "I don't do drugs, but thanks."
What?
You guess he thought I was on drugs because I talk a lot. I'm a chatty bitch, but it's not drugs. I'm just like this. Yeah, and then he died. I was like, bye, good riddance. He's a weird dude. But he said about his open relationship that he liked her having other partners because he had to do less work. Because he was old and unhealthy, didn't have that high of a sex drive, but his women did. So he liked it that they were all in open stuff. They were cool.
I love that.
That's what you need or want. And you should check. I think if we make it to our old age, we should get to do all the things because you're going to be dead soon. So
yeah, as long as you're not hurting anyone, I feel have at it. You're good.
The question in sex work, of course, is, are you hurting the wife? Because she did not often. It'd be better if
experience.
Well, sometimes the wife did not consent. She does not know. It's a lie. That's common. And it does hurt when she finds out. I've received those phone calls. It's awful. She's a Asian lady in Nashville who likes to call me at 3 a.m. and insult me all the time. She still calls a lot. And this is somebody I knew like literally over a decade ago. I don't know how she got my number. She likes to call me names, and it's like she gets drunk at like 3 a.m. and it's in Chinese. Not for any reason, but the voicemails are hilarious.
Yeah, the boy you're listening. Oh, I'm like, are you voicemails?
I posted one of them. I was like, I'm being like a white lady being racist, but like jokes aside, it doesn't feel good to know, for whatever reason, this is a decade late now, that I caused pain. I hate that for her. I wish she knew there was never a threat. It was.
I feel like you didn't cause the pain because you weren't like, oh yes, please come have sex with me and don't tell your wife. Like that's
oddly, I never even had sex with him. It was other stuff, but that's other, some people are kinky.
No, but like what I'm saying, like, you weren't like, oh yes, hi, married man. Like, I'm searching you out. Like,
I mean,
that's what.
Do you have culpability for the things drug dealers say that too. I'm not forcing anybody to buy my product. Correct. I think we do have some responsibility for the things we're part of. However, again, if sex workers did not magically exist to meet this guy's particular kinks that weren't being met, he would have found them somewhere else, a neighbor, a friend. Her fantasy that he could just shut that part of himself down for her was not realistic.
Exactly.
So yeah, I agree. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I would maybe qualify and say minimize the hurt, because you're going to hurt people in your life. You're going to break somebody's heart. You're going to dump them. Your kids are going to want to eat sugar all day, and you're going to tell them no, and they're going to be mad at you. And I don't think it's possible to please everybody.
No.
I mean, would be nice, right?
But you can please kinky Asian dudes.
Dude, I once traveled with a guy. He's amazing. He's a surgeon now. He was in finishing med school. He was a transfer student from Asia, and he neglected. We went to Little Palm Island. It's off the coast of Key Largo. Great little resort. You get there off this beautiful wooden boat. It's a private island. Great hotel. But he forgot to tell me that he was afraid of the dark. So, it's getting late. Turn out the lights. Catch some Z's, right? And he starts screaming and crying.
Oh no!
He's about 90 pounds soaking wet, about 4 feet tall. He also had them shipped these boxes of very, very good champagnes and wines. He was kind of a wine and champagne snob. But he had that alcohol dehydrogenase mutation that a lot of Asians have, where they turn beet red when they drink.
Yes.
It's an allergy a lot of Asians have. And so he was totally the color of a lobster and crying, and I had to turn on all the lights. Finally, they found me a nightshade, because by the third night, I was losing my goddamn mind about the lights off. Yes.
Did you ever anybody who was just like so off the wall, you're like, dude, no?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've left a million times when they're crazy. Drugs don't work for me because it makes a person hard to manage. Sadly, I did like somebody. He used to do a little bit of Molly. Didn't care that I don't do that. I kind of had to babysit him, but he then later I heard got into coke, and he wrapped his Lambo around a light post. He's dead now.
Oh.
He was a really nice guy. He was Sicilian mafia family, but legit on his part. He owned a regular, normal company, and he was very nice. He had such a huge house. I kept getting lost in it. But he apparently, his wild lifestyle ended him, which is sad. He was a good dude. Sometimes people meet us at a time in their life that's kind of weird, like when they're going through a divorce, or they're like hitting a milestone birthday and they got a lot of weird issues about aging. They'll try to meet somebody a lot younger than them. Like, obviously I'm older now, but back in the beginning, they just wanted to date somebody who was like 30 because they're now 60 and they worry they're never going to get to do that again. And that's fine. A lot of like, I mean, I look kind of like a dominatrix. These are highlights. My natural hair is as dark as Audrey's. Pointy eyebrows, Eastern European face. So and especially now older, a lot of guys want you to be mean to them. And that's actually not really my thing. But I've learned a lot about it. And the weirdest one I ever saw was he flew me to Columbus, Ohio, which is actually a great town. The short north is actually so cool. Yeah, I know. Like I didn't. And the first time, things are normal. I'm getting along, having dinner, drinks. I was like, he's cute. Like if it came down to like sexy time, I'd be down for that. Why not? It's up to him, of course. I'm no rapist. But second, we decided to like hook up. And things are normal proceeding, and he is not getting a job. And I'm like, oh no, like he's not into me, right? No, he finally levels with me, tells me the truth that he only likes to be smacked in the nuts as hard as I can.
Oh,
And so
Did it work?
I wasn't really ready for that. And I kind of tried to like, no, he wanted it like on a like softball. I wouldn't have believed this. It's still the weirdest thing I've ever seen sexually in any part of my civilian or professional life. The harder I hit him, the harder he got.
wow.
I saw it, and I've never seen anything like that. We then a few times got together again. He wanted to go to a rave, which was weird because he was in his early 80s, and it was us with a bunch of 17-year-olds.
Wow.
He needed to be at a rave. I had to teach him how to use Uber. He wasn't so good with the phone. That was cool. But super nice guy. Founded a massively successful company, and his wife had died. And tragic. She was in a coma for years. He had to unplug her. It was a whole thing.
So sad.
He wanted to have some experiences before he's gone. And after we saw each other for a while, and I stopped agreeing to it because what started worrying me is if he liked really, really harsh pain, and he liked to be caned, and I mean caned to the point of almost bleeding. I watched a bunch of stuff and read because I was learning on the fly. What worried me is would he ever think that that was true for me and hurt me? And he didn't, but it did scare me. And eventually I stopped dating him, and then he moved to another country, and he's well now. We're still friendly years later. That's the weirdest I've ever seen, is the wires getting crossed. And I didn't leave because I already sort of knew him and cared about him, but I remember feeling very apprehensive about that. And I don't know how common that is, that somebody perceives really heavy pain as pleasure. I've seen lots of BDSM and kink, but usually it's very mild and kind of sensual, right? That's normal.
Yeah.
Handcuffs and a little bit of flogging, but this was extreme, and it's the only time I've ever seen it. Hopefully he wasn't going to end up some BTK killer kind of guy who was like, yeah, like pain is pleasure, and I need to hurt people. But
well, he was 80, so it'd be tough at that age, right?
Now he's almost 9. Like now he's closer to 90, and I don't think he's running around a lot. Maybe he is. That'd be amazing.
No, I mean, you never know.
Some people have a sex drive for a long time, man. It varies. But I think
good to know.
Well, with 8.5 billion out there, there's the range of sexual interests and what people are into. It certainly seems to be set in whatever's going on for you when you hit puberty, when those hormones are just raging, 12, 13. That seems to very much dictate your fantasies later. Again, nothing's always true, but if somebody's got like a teacher thing, it's because they had like a hot teacher when they were in like middle school. And I have talked to people who are very into BDSM because I want to understand it, because it's so common and it's very technically difficult. You can really hurt somebody. And it usually, one of them once told me he saw his sister getting, his parents made her go get a switch off the tree, and they hit her, and he was about 13 and hormones on fire as they are at that age. And he was so angry at his parents for hitting his sister. And he was also a little bit oddly turned on, or her bare butt, that kind of something got crossed. And so forever he had issues about wanting to be spanked. There's certain cultures that are more kinky. Military men are very kinky. I think controlled cultures, Japan, Germany, military people, often they're so controlled and well-behaved that the steam valve is kind of sometimes sex for them. Mm-hmm. Again, not always. Nothing's always true. It's all out there.
Yeah.
So we joke in sex work about, like, there's a hashtag let me starfish, where women are just like, just let me lay there. I don't want to do And some people like that too. It's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's all different sorts of fantasies out there. Or some,
Yeah, and they can change. People might see something or read something, and then they're like, I want to try that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know if you like it or not. You gotta try it.
I'm going to start reading.
Yeah. What if I not like? I had nipple clamps. They're too hard. Like,
Too clampy?
maybe there's got to be like a softer one somewhere. I got to do a little homework on Amazon. Amazon sells like,
They sell everything.
but some people could lock those things on and just hang out. I'm like, dude, you have different nipples than I do for sure, because that is not for me. So I don't know. I mean, and it's good to keep it spicy. My sister and her husband have been married for better part of 3 decades, and they're trying to keep it spicy and try new things because they love it.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to though. I feel like it keeps the relationship going and interesting, and like it just
It's fun.
why not have fun together and like figure stuff out that you like.
She said she tried to arrange a foursome with their college friends that have gotten married and live near them, and the 2 ladies like they're having like a dinner party and drinks and weed and whatever, and the 2 ladies go in the bedroom and like get into their panties and like invite the 2 men in. And they've all known each other for like 25 years. And the 2 guys come in and realize they're suggesting a foursome. And they're just like, yeah, no. We're not video games. like, I don't want to fuck my buddy from... Like, yeah, it's not. We're not doing this. And so my sister and her friend just hooked up because the guys left.
Good for them.
I mean,
Hey, whatever works.
still a win.
Yeah, but I think that's true because you get to see, hey, Steve at golf. Hey, buddy, your wife was great last night. Yeah.
Maybe too close to home.
Yeah.
That's where sex exists. They leave.
Amy, I have to tell you, you are like the embodiment of what I want my girls to see in how they can face like anything and come out okay and kind of, because I know like that fear, that pain of losing the respect of people that you love and thinking like I'm never going to get that back, or and then becoming doubtful of yourself and questioning like, am I really that bad of a person? And to come out and you just have this thing about you, you're funny, you're smart, you're beautiful, you are not ashamed to be yourself. And that's what life is about. It's about being able to embrace those moments. And thank you so much for sharing your moments with us and for being that person that my girls can look up to and see that it's okay to be yourself. And
You could be a strong, independent woman who has a career and flies planes and does all these amazing things.
You can always pivot. And when you stumble, it'd be great if you don't stumble. But if you stumble, you can get up. We all do. You'll be okay.
well, thank you so much for being here with us and telling us your story and being a part of Rule 42.
How do people get in contact with you if they want to? Like, do you have an Instagram or somewhere that they can find you?
Yeah. I'm Amy Taylor NYC on all this stuff. So come say hi.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yes, definitely. And thank you again for being here on Rule 42 with me, Audrey.
And me, Jen.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Rule 42 is hosted by Audrey Cruz and Jen Burke. It is produced and edited by Tom Smith. The opening song is Rule 42 by Eddie Carr. Rule 42's artwork was created by Aubrey Cruz. And I'm your announcer, Molly Smith. Thank you for listening to Rule 42. We hope you enjoyed the show. New episodes premiere every Thursday on all podcast platforms. Please subscribe, share the show, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple.